Commander Alina Reyes watched through the viewport as the last Commonwealth escort ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind only a faint blue ripple against the backdrop of stars. She maintained her rigid posture until the ship disappeared completely, unwilling to show weakness even though no one remained to witness it. "And good riddance," muttered Lieutenant Diaz beside her. Alina finally allowed her shoulders to slump. Status report on the flotilla. 17 vessels. Commander. Approximately 9,000 souls. 6 months of supplies if we implement strict rationing immediately. Around them, Sector X-99 stretched in all directions, the cosmic dumping ground colloquially known as the dump. Massive fields of technological debris drifted in lazy, hazardous constellations as far as sensors could detect. The Commonwealth's trash, deemed too aesthetically displeasing or functionally redundant to maintain. "The Council is assembling in the main chamber," Diaz added. "They're expecting your presence." Alina nodded. Let them wait a moment longer. Outside, the refugee ships had begun to disperse into defensive formations. Most were civilian vessels, cargo haulers, passenger liners, and orbital transports, hastily converted when the Commonwealth ultimatum came down. Humans are too unpredictable, too violent for civilized space. That was the official reason for their exile. The truth was simpler. Humanity had refused to conform. Her communicator chimed. "Commander," came Dr. Kumar's voice. "I've completed initial scans of our immediate vicinity. You might want to see this." "On my way." In the science bay, Kumar had mapped a 3-dimensional representation of the nearest debris field. His eyes gleamed with an excitement Alina hadn't seen since before the exile. "It's not just garbage," he said, gesturing to the hologram. "Look at the composition. Defense systems, power cores, drive units, some at nearly 90% operational capacity." Alina frowned. Why would they discard functioning technology? "Aesthetic obsolescence," Kumar said, lips twisting into a sardonic smile. Most of these were replaced because they were deemed visually unappealing or generated sounds that offended Commonwealth sensibilities. Their obsession with symmetry and harmony made these perfectly functional components trash. Alina moved closer to the hologram, noticing a particularly large mass. "What's that?" "That," Kumar said, "is a Commonwealth destroyer, decommissioned because of a hull fracture that created what they considered an unacceptable visual discontinuity. The primary systems appear intact." For the first time since the exile began, Alina felt something like hope kindle in her chest. "Can we salvage it?" "Better." Kumar's smile grew wider. "We can use it as a foundation." The council meeting was already descending into chaos when Alina arrived. Representatives from each ship shouted over one another, fear making them belligerent. Silence. Alina's voice cut through the noise. The room gradually quieted. "I understand your fear. We've been discarded like trash by a civilization that deemed us unworthy. But I just come from speaking with Dr. Kumar, and we've discovered something." She activated the holographic display in the center of the room, showing the debris field. "The Commonwealth has given us a gift they never intended. They've surrounded us with technology, discarded not because it's broken, but because it offended their aesthetic sensibilities. While they expect us to starve out here, we have an opportunity." She zoomed in on the derelict destroyer. "Starting tomorrow, we begin salvage operations. We will take what they've thrown away and rebuild. We won't just survive here, we'll thrive." A council member scoffed. "With garbage?" Alina's gaze hardened. "One civilization's garbage is another's salvation. They've given us the components. We'll provide what they lack: human ingenuity and the will to survive." She looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. "They exiled us expecting to never hear from humanity again. I intend to make sure we return, and when we do, they'll never forget the lesson we teach them." 3 months into exile, Alina piloted a small craft through the treacherous debris field, dodging a spinning section of hull plating by centimeters. The scavenger suit she wore was a patchwork of Commonwealth and human technology, an apt metaphor for what they'd become. "Extraction Team Bravo. Status?" she called over the comm. "Finishing up at Grid Section 9, came Chief Engineer Santos' reply. "We've secured 3 more gravitational compensators and what appears to be an intact sensor array." Alina's craft approached what they now called First Prize, the abandoned Commonwealth destroyer. Once derelict and lifeless, it now buzzed with activity as teams moved in and out of its hull, stripping what they could use and reinforcing the structure. Scaffolding extended from multiple points, the beginnings of something larger taking shape. She docked at an improvised airlock and made her way to the central chamber they'd converted into an operations center. Dr. Kumar was hunched over a workstation, surrounded by disassembled components. "Commander," he waved her over excitedly. Perfect timing. He pointed to what looked like a crystalline power core pulsing with blue-green energy. Commonwealth Aurora-class power matrix. 92% efficiency. They discarded it because the harmonic resonance was unpleasantly asymmetrical to their sensitive ears. "Can we use it?" "That's not the question." Kumar's eyes were feverish with lack of sleep. "The question is, what happens when we connect it to this?" He pointed to another device, all sharp angles and exposed circuitry, a human-built quantum entanglement communicator. Alina frowned. Those systems were never designed to work together. "Exactly." Kumar grinned. "The Commonwealth builds everything in isolation. Perfect systems that work harmoniously with their designated counterparts. But what if we forced compatibility where none was intended?" He connected several cables between the devices and activated a sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then both systems began to pulse in sync, the communicator suddenly projecting a holographic field 10 times larger than its designed capacity. "The power core's excess energy is being channeled through pathways the communicator was never meant to utilize," Kumar explained. "It's chaotic, inelegant by Commonwealth standards, but it works." Alina stared at the jerry-rigged system. "And this applies to weapons, propulsion, everything," Kumar confirmed. "What I'm proposing is a doctrine of enforced integration, taking incompatible technologies and making them work together through human ingenuity." Before Alina could respond, Security Chief Diaz entered, expression grim. "Commander, long-range sensors have detected a Commonwealth patrol vessel approaching for their quarterly flyby." Alina's mind raced. "How long?" 18 hours. "Hide everything," she ordered. "Shut down all non-essential operations. Make it look like we're barely surviving." Later, in her makeshift quarters, Alina studied the census data. They'd lost 12 people to accidents and illness, but 3 children had been born in exile. The first generation of what some were calling dump-born humans. A persistent food shortage was causing tension between the vessels, despite rationing. A knock at her door revealed Zara Chen, the colony's newly appointed resource coordinator. "The council is split," Zara said without preamble. "Half want to focus on building multiple small vessels to escape. The other half support continuing with whatever it is you and Kumar are planning." Alina sighed. "And you? I'm practical. I've analyzed our resource allocation. Splitting our efforts guarantees failure on both fronts. So what do you recommend?" "Commit fully to one path," Zara said. "And from what I've seen in Kumar's lab, I believe your plan offers the better chance of survival." Alina nodded, decision crystallizing. "Tell the council we meet tomorrow at First Prize. It's time they see what we're really building." As Zora left, Alina turned to the small viewport. In the distance, the debris field shimmered with possibility. The Commonwealth had given them 6 months to starve. Instead, they created something new, the scavenger doctrine, a philosophy born of desperation but evolving into something more powerful, the art of making the incompatible compatible, of finding strength in chaos. "This is madness." Admiral Chen slammed his fist on the holodable, displaying Alina's proposed design. "One ship. We need a fleet to escape this prison." The council meeting aboard First Prize had devolved into chaos. The hologram rotating above the table showed a vessel unlike anything they'd seen before. Asymmetrical, with weapon systems grafted onto the hull at seemingly random angles, driven by 3 different propulsion systems never meant to work together. "We don't need to escape," Alina responded calmly. "We need to make them afraid to keep us here." Dr. Kumar stepped forward, gesturing to the strange design. The Commonwealth builds ships based on aesthetic harmony. Their targeting systems rely on symmetrical pattern recognition. This design deliberately subverts every principle they consider fundamental. He manipulated the hologram, highlighting various integrated systems. These components were never designed to interact, but we found that forced compatibility creates unexpected emergent properties. "What kind of properties?" asked Zora. Kumar's smile was unsettling. "When we connected the Aurora power matrix to our quantum communicator, it increased efficiency by 300%. Applying this principle to defensive systems could generate overlapping fields that Commonwealth weapons can't penetrate because they're designed to target conventional shield configurations." Alina zoomed in on the forward section. "We're calling it the Nightmare, because that's exactly what it will be to Commonwealth sensibilities." "And if it fails?" Admiral Chen challenged. "Then we die," Alina said simply. "But we'll die anyway if we try to build a conventional fleet with our limited resources. The Commonwealth expects us to follow their rules of engineering. Our advantage is that we don't have to." Captain Miyazaki, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. "What's the timeline?" 18 months, Kumar answered. "We've already begun collecting the necessary components." "And in the meantime," demanded Chen, "food shortages are getting worse. People need hope, not some mad scientist's fever dream." "I've thought of that," Alina said, nodding to Zora, who activated another hologram, showing a comprehensive resource allocation plan. "We'll convert sections of First Prize into hydroponic gardens. Combined with protein synthesis from salvaged Commonwealth biotech, we can increase food production by 40% within 2 months." The council members studied the plans with cautious interest. Alina continued, "Every Commonwealth vessel contains redundant systems because their engineers refuse to tolerate even minor imperfections. For us, that's an advantage. More salvageable parts for both survival and construction." Later, after the council narrowly voted to proceed with the Nightmare project, Alina found herself at an observation port with Kumar, watching teams of scavengers returning from another expedition. "They're still skeptical," she said. "They lack vision," Kumar replied, eyes fixed on the distant workers. "But they'll understand when they see what we're creating." "And what exactly is that?" Alina asked. "Beyond a warship." Kumar considered the question. "A new way of thinking. The Commonwealth achieved technological supremacy through harmony and predictability. We're doing the opposite, embracing chaos, forcing systems to adapt to incompatibility rather than designing away the problems." A small child in a repurposed environmental suit floated past the window, chasing after a makeshift toy fashioned from scrap. The sight gave Alina pause. "We're not just building a ship, are we?" she said quietly. Kumar shook his head. "We're building a future, one the Commonwealth never imagined possible." That night, Alina reviewed the blueprint one final time before authorizing full-scale production. The Nightmare's design violated every principle of conventional engineering, resembling something organic and predatory rather than constructed. As she studied it, she felt a strange mix of pride and unease. They were creating something that shouldn't work, something born from desperation and ingenuity in equal measure. And perhaps that was the point. Humanity, discarded among refuse, was becoming something new, something that thrived on making the impossible possible. Emergency in Section 7. The alarm blared throughout the construction site as Alina raced through the Nightmare's half-built corridors. 6 months into construction, the massive vessel was taking shape, a jarring assemblage of salvaged components grafted onto the expanded skeleton of First Prize. Workers welded Commonwealth particle cannons alongside human missile tubes. Engineers cursed as they forced neural interfaces to communicate with mechanical controls. Everywhere, Kumar's integration protocols allowed impossibilities to become reality. Alina reached Section 7 to find emergency barriers deployed. Through the transparent partition, she saw Kumar and his team trapped with what appeared to be a pulsing orb of inverted space hovering between them and the exit. "What happened?" she demanded through the comm. "Reality tear," Kumar explained, his voice betraying excitement despite the danger. "We were integrating the gravitational compensators with the inertial dampeners, but they rejected each other." "Rejected?" Alina stared at the phenomenon. "That looks like more than rejection." "The conflict between systems created a localized spatial anomaly," Kumar explained. "A tear in conventional physics where incompatible rules are forced to coexist." Senior Engineer Lai stepped forward, her face illuminated by the strange phenomenon. "If we could control it," she began. Alina finished her thought. "We have a weapon unlike anything in the Commonwealth arsenal." "Exactly," Kumar nodded. "Their weapons are designed to operate within consistent physical parameters. This operates outside those parameters entirely." As the team worked to contain the tear, alarms sounded again, this time from perimeter sensors. Commonwealth surveillance had begun earlier than expected. Camouflage protocols, Alina ordered through the command channel. Across the construction site, carefully designed panels shifted to disguise the nightmare's true shape, making it appear as just another chaotic settlement among the debris. Hours later, the reality tear had been temporarily contained within a modified stasis field. Alina found Kumar in his lab, studying the readings. "Can it be weaponized?" she asked without preamble. "Better," Kumar replied. "It can be directed. Imagine creating localized reality distortions around the nightmare. Commonwealth targeting systems would receive contradictory data, unable to establish a firing solution." "And the risk?" "Considerable," Kumar admitted. "We're breaking fundamental laws of physics by forcing these systems to interact. There's a 22% chance of catastrophic failure." "Meaning?" "Meaning we could tear a hole in space-time large enough to swallow half the debris field." Alina considered this. "Improve those odds." Kumar nodded, understanding her directive. As she left his lab, Alina encountered a small group of children being given a tour of the safer sections of the construction site by Captain Miyazaki, part of the education program she'd established. The children, most born on Earth but some dump-born, stared wide-eyed at the massive project. "Commander Reyes," one child raised her hand. "Teacher says we're building a monster. Is that true?" Alina paused, seeing the nightmare through the child's eyes. The exposed weapons, the asymmetrical hull, the pulsing systems that glowed with unnatural energies. "Not a monster," she replied carefully. "A protector." That evening, Alina received reports from their long-range scouts, hidden observation posts they'd established throughout the debris field. The Commonwealth surveillance vessel had departed, apparently satisfied that the humans were merely surviving, not thriving. In her quarters, Alina reviewed the construction timeline. The nightmare was taking shape faster than projected thanks to Kumar's integration breakthroughs. What would have been impossible with conventional engineering became achievable when they abandoned the rules. As she studied the latest scans, Alina realized the nightmare was evolving beyond its original design. Each integration created new possibilities. Each impossibility forced into reality suggested 10 more. They weren't just building a warship anymore. They were creating something alive. A vessel that adapted, that found solutions through chaos, that embraced contradictions rather than resolving them. Something that would haunt the Commonwealth's dreams. Chief Security Officer Diaz spotted it first. The gleaming Commonwealth scientific vessel drifting too close to the debris field's edge. Its sensors probing deeper than any previous surveillance mission. This wasn't the scheduled yearly inspection, but something else entirely. "It's a luminary-class research vessel," Diaz reported, enlarging the long-range scan. "Too small for combat, but their sensor package is military-grade. If they get any closer, they'll detect what we're building." Elena assessed their options quickly. The Nightmare was 15 months into construction. Functional but incomplete. The reality tier weapons remained unstable, and their defensive systems were only partially integrated. We can't let them report back, she decided. Intercept Team Alpha. Prepare for deployment. Alpha Team. A specialized unit trained for precisely this scenario. Assembled in the launch bay. Their vessels weren't sleek Commonwealth shuttles, but repurposed mining craft with salvaged stealth modules haphazardly grafted onto their hulls. Non-lethal protocols, Elena instructed. We need that ship intact and its crew alive for questioning. Lieutenant Park, Alpha Team's leader, nodded grimly. Understood, Commander. As the team launched, Elena returned to the command center to monitor the operation. Kumar joined her, his expression tense. If we're discovered, he began. We won't be, Elena said with more confidence than she felt. The operation unfolded with precision. The Commonwealth vessel, designed with aesthetic symmetry rather than practical security, possessed significant sensor blind spots. Alpha Team approached from these angles, using modified EMP devices to disable the ship's communications and power systems before boarding through emergency airlocks. 23 minutes after launch, Lieutenant Park's voice crackled through the comm. Target secured. 5 Commonwealth personnel in custody. No casualties. Elena exhaled slowly, only now realizing she'd been holding her breath. Bring them in. The captured vessel was towed into a concealed dock within the debris field. Its sleek, minimalist design contrasted sharply with the chaotic human settlement. As the Commonwealth scientists were escorted to a secure holding area, Elena examined their vessel with newfound appreciation for what it revealed about their creators. Every system was designed for beauty as much as function. Wiring was hidden behind seamless panels. Control interfaces were elegant holographic displays with perfect geometric layouts. Even the engine room was immaculate, with power conduits arranged in harmonious patterns rather than efficient ones. It's like a work of art, Zora commented, joining Elena's inspection. That's exactly the problem, Elena replied. They prioritize aesthetics over functionality. Look at these sensor arrays, perfectly symmetrical, but with significant blind spots as a result. Later, she interrogated the senior Commonwealth scientist, a tall, willowy being who regarded her with barely disguised revulsion. Why are you here? Elena demanded. The scientist, Dr. Valen, maintained his composure. We detected unusual energy signatures. Our mission was purely scientific. And when you found us thriving instead of dying, what were your orders? A momentary hesitation. To report back, nothing more. Elena leaned forward. And what would happen after your report? Valen's large eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress in his species. That's not my concern. It should be, Elena said, activating a holographic display showing the nightmare. Because this is what we've been building. Valen recoiled physically, his elegant features contorting in disgust. What abomination is this? The proportions are chaotic. The system's exposed. It violates every principle of Commonwealth design, Elena finished. Exactly. And that's why your weapons won't be effective against it. A flash of fear crossed Valen's face. Confirmation of her theory. Commonwealth targeting systems relied on recognizable patterns. The nightmare's chaotic design would confound them. After the interrogation, Elena met with her senior staff. The information extracted from the Commonwealth scientists and their vessels' databases painted a disturbing picture. They're rewriting history, she explained, telling their people that our exile was a merciful alternative to extermination. And some factions believe the job should be finished properly. Admiral Chen, once her staunchest opponent, now nodded grimly. The Nightmare Project was the right decision. We won't just need it to escape, we'll need it to survive. As night fell over the settlement, Elena watched the Nightmare's silhouette against the debris field. Today marked a turning point. Their first direct confrontation with the Commonwealth, their first victory. Small, but significant. The nightmare would no longer be merely theoretical. It had become necessary. Proximity alert. The warning jolted Elena from a rare moment of sleep. She reached the command center to find the nightmare systems running hot, integration patches failing as Kumar and his team worked frantically to stabilize the experimental reality tier weaponry. 3 Commonwealth scout ships, Diaz reported, gesturing to the tactical display. Heavy sensor sweeps, military grade. They're searching methodically. The timing couldn't be worse. The nightmare was only 70% complete, its systems barely holding together. The interrogation of Dr. Valen and analysis of the captured scientific vessel had revealed a Commonwealth purification fleet scheduled to arrive in 3 months. These scouts were early reconnaissance. They're looking for their missing science vessel, Admiral Chen concluded. Elena made a swift assessment. Flight wasn't an option. The nightmare couldn't outrun Commonwealth scouts in its current state. Hiding was impossible with the scouts' advanced sensors. That left only one choice. Activate Phantom protocols, she ordered. Across the settlement, hidden transmitters powered up, broadcasting artificial sensor readings designed by Kumar's team to confuse and terrify. Meanwhile, the nightmare limped from its construction cradle, its half-finished hull screaming with the strain of incompatible systems forced to coexist. Direct all available power to the spatial distortion array, Elena commanded, and prepare the reality tier projector. The projector isn't stable, Kumar warned. We've only run simulations, never field tests. Then today we tested, Elena said firmly. Target the lead scout. As the nightmare approached the edge of the debris field, Commonwealth scouts detected its emergence. Their sensors struggled to process what they were seeing, a vessel that seemed to exist in multiple spatial configurations simultaneously, its profile shifting erratically. On the lead scout's bridge, Captain Nellis watched in confusion as targeting computers failed to establish a lock. What manner of vessel is that? He demanded. His sensor officer stuttered. Sir, it's reading as both solid matter and void space simultaneously. Our targeting algorithms can't resolve the contradictions. The nightmare fired. Not conventional weapons, but a controlled reality tear, a localized distortion in space-time projected outward like a spear. The effect struck the lead scout, engulfing it in a bubble of altered physics where time flowed differently inside than out. To the scout's crew, mere seconds passed while hours elapsed outside. Reality tear successful, Kumar reported, surprise evident in his voice. Lead scout effectively neutralized. The remaining scouts, witnessing their companion vessel engulfed in the incomprehensible effect, began emergency retreat maneuvers. Before they could escape, Elena ordered another innovation deployed. The Phantom Echo Array. Salvaged Commonwealth transmitters, reconfigured to Kumar's specifications, projected false sensor images of multiple nightmare vessels appearing throughout the debris field. The scouts, already unnerved by the reality tear, detected what appeared to be an entire fleet of the monstrous ships materializing around them. They fled at maximum speed. In the nightmare's makeshift medical bay, Elena helped carry injured engineers for treatment. Warning lights flashed throughout the vessel as systems strained beyond their limits. Can we survive an actual battle against the purification fleet? Diaz asked quietly. We just did, Elena replied. Those scouts will report what they saw, or what they think they saw. The Commonwealth will be expecting a fleet of nightmare vessels with reality-bending weapons. Admiral Chen joined them, his face grave. But we only have one ship, barely functional, and 3 months until they arrive in force. Elena nodded. Then we have 3 months to turn their fears into reality. That night, as repair teams worked to stabilize the nightmare's damaged systems, Elena reviewed Kumar's latest innovation, a method to project the reality tear effect as a defensive shell around the entire vessel. If it works, Kumar explained, conventional weapons wouldn't just miss us, they'd be redirected into interstitial space. And if it fails? Elena asked. Kumar's exhausted face showed a grim smile. Then we tear a hole in reality large enough to take the Commonwealth fleet with us. Outside the viewport, the debris field that had once been their prison now resembled something else entirely. A workshop where humanity forged weapons from garbage. A laboratory where they rewrote the rules of physics. A crucible where desperation transformed into deadly innovation. The countdown to the Commonwealth's arrival had begun. The Commonwealth Purification Fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, 20 immaculate warships arranged in a flawless geometric pattern. Admiral Vox of the Commonwealth Defense Force stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Harmonious Resolution, surveying tactical displays with serene confidence. Preliminary scans of the human settlement, his sensor officer reported, detecting unusual energy signatures and anomalous spatial readings. Vox frowned slightly, the only break in his composed demeanor. The scout reports had described impossible vessels and physics-defying weapons, but he had dismissed them as sensor malfunctions or hallucinations. Deploy in standard purification formation, he ordered. Prepare to cleanse this sector. Within the debris field, the nightmare waited. The past 3 months had transformed the vessel from concept to reality. Its asymmetrical hull bristled with exposed weapon systems. 3 different engine types pulsed in disharmonious sequence. Reality tier generators created a distorted bubble around its forward sections. On the makeshift bridge, Elena surveyed her crew. Engineers who doubled as gunners, scientists who served as tactical officers, civilians trained for combat roles. Admiral Chen commanded the auxiliary systems from a secondary control center deep within the hull. All stations report ready, Diaz announced. Elena nodded. Begin transmission. The nightmare broadcast on all frequencies, not words, but a cacophony of mechanical sounds, system alerts, and human voices speaking over each other. The chaotic transmission mirrored the ship itself, designed to unnerve Commonwealth communications officers, accustomed to harmonious, ordered communications. Commonwealth vessels changing formation, Kumar reported from his station. They're adopting attack positioning. Elena studied the tactical display. They're spreading out to surround us. Standard encirclement doctrine. She turned to Kumar. Activate the reality shell. Around the nightmare, space itself seemed to shimmer as the reality tier generators created a bubble of distorted physics. Light bent strangely around the vessel, making its already unsettling silhouette appear to shift and waver. The Commonwealth fired first. Precision energy weapons designed to deliver clean, efficient destruction. Their beams struck the reality shell and vanished, redirected into interstitial space as Kumar had predicted. No damage, Diaz reported, surprise evident in his voice. Shield integrity at 100%. Return fire, Elena ordered. All conventional weapons. The nightmare attacked like a berserker. Mismatched weapon systems fired in chaotic patterns impossible to predict. Commonwealth shields, designed to counter elegant, predictable attacks, faltered against the disordered assault. Admiral Vox watched in disbelief as 3 of his vessels reported critical damage. What manner of weapons are they using? Unknown, sir, his tactical officer replied. Their firing patterns don't match any known configuration. Target their propulsion systems, Vox commanded. Commonwealth targeting computers struggled to lock onto the Nightmare's engines. The 3 different propulsion systems created contradictory signatures that confounded pre-programmed targeting algorithms. Activate the reality tier projector, Elena ordered as Commonwealth vessels regrouped for another assault. The weapon, once unstable and dangerous, now fired with controlled precision. 3 Commonwealth ships became trapped in localized time dilations, their crews experiencing seconds while hours passed outside. As the battle progressed, the nightmare seemed to be everywhere at once, the spatial distortion drive allowing it to appear in multiple locations simultaneously, confounding Commonwealth formation tactics designed for conventional engagements. Admiral Vox, watching half his fleet disabled or destroyed, opened communications. On his view screen appeared Commander Elena Reyes, seated in a command chair cobbled together from mismatched parts, surrounded by a bridge crew operating stations that appeared to be in constant states of modification. "Your terms," Vox asked, attempting to maintain dignity despite his shock. Elena's reply was calm but implacable. "You threw us away. We're here to return the favor." Vox's composed facade finally cracked. "That thing you've built, it violates every principle of design, of physics, of everything you believe." Elena finished. "That's why it works. Your civilization discarded what you considered imperfect. We took your garbage and built something you couldn't imagine. Because your imagination is constrained by your need for symmetry and order." But Elena's focus remained on the tactical display, watching the Commonwealth ships flee. This wasn't the end. It was barely the beginning. As the remaining Commonwealth vessels retreated, the Nightmare's crew erupted in celebration. Humanity's first victory against those who had exiled them.